my whole point is somebody might be able to watch you and listen to your commentary and maybe pick up one thing.
Right.
That one thing might help them out with whatever they're going through in life.
Right.
So that's the whole purpose for these questions here.
Well,
okay.
Well, let me kind of get into your question.
Okay.
Started off when I was a young kid. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and the family had nothing. We were literally poor, right? And I was with a whole bunch of brothers and sisters, and we're 12 in the family.
I was going to ask you how many.
12 in the family. 5 of the older ones moved out and went to different areas, mostly New York.
Really?
Yeah, and brothers and one sister, and the rest of us stayed home. And everybody was working. But everybody was going to school. Mom said, since you're going to school, you're going to go to school. Well, everybody went to school. And me, knucklehead, I was playing hooky most of the time, running around, but I still went to school.
Okay.
But my education down there, it was me, not the teachers. I wasn't trying to learn because I didn't feel that I needed to learn.
Gotcha.
I was just going there because my mother wanted to make sure I went to school.
Gotcha.
But, and my homework went to be from good to even worse. And you had people willing to help me. My dad, he was willing to help me a little bit, but his education wasn't that great either.
Okay.
So back then we didn't have tutors, which you probably did have. But
what did your dad do for a living, if I might ask?
My dad was he worked on for a company called Ledier Phillips. It was a paper stacking. In other words, it's like shredders. Okay. They shred the paper, then they bag it up. They put it in big squares and then put the metal faces around them. So it was like how do you want to call it? It's like a shredding place. Not shredding. What do they call it? The blue bucket. Recycle.
Gotcha.
Recycle.
Okay.
That's what a recycle place. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was all paper.
Interesting.
It was all paper. All newspaper, magazines, all paper. Not back then. You didn't have plastic. Well, you had plastic.
Yeah.
But you didn't use plastic like you do now.
Yeah.
But it was all paper. And he used to work these freight cars. You see, where the Superdome is right now in New Orleans. That's where that whole train station was.
Wow.
Way back when.
Wow.
There's nothing but a train station back there. And what they would do, they would bring these train boxcars in from all over Louisiana with these papers on it, and then they pack them up and board them up, and then they put them in different places and send them to different companies. So that's what he did.
Okay. See? Now get back to what you were telling me, though.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when like I said, we had nothing, and I would go to school, and I went to school, and then finally, Dad and Mom, I guess they just kind of separated and whatever, and I had to go to work. So
how old were you?
Yeah, I went to work. I went to work at 15.
What'd you do?
Yeah, I went to work. I was a delivery kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to have a little place that I worked for. They used to have a little bike with a big basket in the front.
Okay.
And all the grocery ladies put all the groceries in there. I used to have to take them to all these houses, and everything. And everybody that already paid for the groceries or whatever, or they got a credit bill.
Gotcha.
I was giving the slip and they sign it and bring it back, that type of thing.
Okay.
Didn't handle any money.
And
ride back. And my hours of work was like, you wouldn't believe. I mean, it was like I go to work in the morning like about 8 o'clock. Okay. And I leave at night from there about 8 o'clock at night. It was hard work.
All day long.
Yeah, all day long.
At 15.
I get a lunch break and everything.
At 15 though.
Yeah, at 15. Yeah, at 15. And the good thing about my lunch break was the last bit, Mrs. Morris, I'll never forget them. They were French. They were French people. And I remember the grandmother. She was very, very, very nice. She would always cook me a meal for lunch.
Really?
Yeah, always cook me a meal for lunch. So, because I would tell her one time, I told the wife that ran the store, I told her, I said, well, I'm going to go see if I can, have a cookie here and go sit outside and have a drink. And I said, no, Mama wants to talk to you. I went back to the kitchen, and Mama's back in the kitchen. She said, Mama, sit down. She didn't speak very good English.
Just French.
Just French. So that whole area where I worked in was a lot of French, Creole, that whole area I was with. Okay. And anyway, I would go back, sit down. She'd have all kinds of good stuff, man. Pork chops and stew and meat. I'd have a meal there at our house every day.
Wow.
Every day, a noon meal every day. Yeah. So I was pretty good with that. I had, and then I'm running around 16. I worked for about a year and a half, I guess, with no problems, And so I got off for another job at a drugstore.
Okay.
The drugstore you had a little motor scooter with a basket in the front.
Okay.
So, but you delivered all your drugs and whatever it was to places a lot further than where we live.
Yep.
The grocery store was all right around the neighborhood, within a radius of 10, 12 blocks.
Gotcha.
With the drugstore delivery, you had to go 2, 3, 4, 5 miles.
Okay.
That's why you had your little scooter. So and it would pay a little bit more. It paid a little bit more money.
And they supplied the scooter.
Oh yeah.
There was their scooter.
The gas and everything. Gas and scooter. And I worked with them. Thompson was the name of that drugstore. So Thompson. So I worked there. I was 17. I turned 17. I was still working there. And then one Sunday night in July, we were all sitting on the old stoop side in the area where we live.
So it's hot in Louisiana in July.
It was hot. It was a summer night, of course. And me and 4 of my other buddies, we're talking. And one of the buddies said, you know what, man? He said, I think I'm going to go down to the Customs House, which is a big federal building. I think I'm going to go down and join the Air Force tomorrow. And this guy his name was Edwards. And Edward was, I was 17. Edward was about 19, maybe 20.
A little older than you.
Yeah, he was older. And Edward was 19, I think. He was 19. Allison Dean, he was 19. Laurel Johnson, he was 18. And I think I was the youngest one of them.
Okay.
So I said, well, and that was kind of like a dare type thing.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going down there, I'm going to go down and sign up too, Everybody's talking. Okay, all right. So I said, but I think I'm going to go Navy. I said, Navy? Yeah, we'll go Navy. So the 5 of us went down to the Customs House the next day. I told my mother.
Really?
That night, I told my mother that night. I said, I'm going to go down and think about getting in the military. She said, well, he said, there's nothing out here. There's no jobs out here, and you won't go back to school. So we'll do something.
Wow.
I said, all right. So she was all for it. So I went down there, and there was one kid, or the guy that was going to go to the Air Force. He went straight to the Air Force, with the Air Force door. And believe it or not, these people were like used cars or this and that. Hey, come over here, check these out. Hey. Navy was here, Marine Corps was there, the Air Force was there. They were all Army was there. Everybody's going, no, I'm going to go to Navy. Come on over here, the Air Force. Come on, the Army. This type of thing, right?
Yeah.
It was funny. I remember that. It was funny. So we all went. 4 of us went to the Navy, and he went to the Air Force. So he went straight down to the Air Force. And anyway, we got in there, but out of the 4 of us, I passed the test. Johnson, tall guy, we used to call him LJ. He passed the test better than anybody. Him real high, but he was only 16. See, we thought he was 17, but he was only 16. And then Allison Dean, I think he only finished about maybe 4th grade or something. So he was gone. And then the other guy, he passed too. So
okay.
So they come around, come into the military to sign the papers and everything. Took everything over to mom and everything. And she said, well, I'm going to go down and talk to these people. I said, okay. I came down and said, okay, my son's going to the military, so what's going to happen? She said, well, ma'am, and mom's education was very limited too.
Okay.
But she understood what he was saying, and we're going to take care of him, he's got to learn to live by rules and regulations. That's, And my mother would say, yeah, he's kind of got a hard head, he never listened to anything. She said, well, he'll listen to this, He said, well, you're not going to hurt my boy, are you? No, we're not going to hurt him. He'll learn. Trust me, he'll learn. I said, okay. He signed all papers and everything. So I actually enlisted on her birthday.
Wow.
Her birthday in
when was that?
1955.
What month and day was it?
July 27th.
July 27th.
July 27th, 1955.
Wow.
My mother's birthday when I enlisted in the Navy. And yeah. So,
and you were born, what year were you born?
I was born February 10th, 1938.
38.
1938,
Wow.
yeah. 1938. And my mother was 26 when she had me.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, we all went to California. Well, not all of us. What did we had? This was really funny. All the guys were standing around waiting for their orders and everything, and they were calling their. Said, "Okay, we're putting all the orders up here on the sheet up here. All these white slips up here. Come up, find your name. When you get your name, circle it. You know that lets us know that you know where you're going."
Okay.
So I got up there, and my section, the group where I was, it was like, okay, shh. All these guys were with me. Doom, doom, doom. Oh man, they were going like Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
Great Lakes.
Yep.
Great Lakes is over
Great
there
Lakes.
at the time.
Yep.
Yeah, Great Lakes. See, all these guys that were with me going to Great Lakes. When I got down to my name, it said San Diego.
How about that?
And I was kind of like, I don't know, I'm a little mad. I've never been to San Diego. Didn't know anything about San Diego. Heard about California.
Yep.
That's about it. And the guy said, "Boy, man, you're going to California. That's a nice, warmer climate and everything." And Great Lakes gets a little cold after a while.
That's true.
So I said, okay.
That's true.
So when I got to California, well, you got to remember another thing too. Taking back in those years,
Yeah.
1955, a lot of segregation.
Yeah.
In Louisiana, everywhere in the South, of course.
Yeah.
And New Orleans, but New Orleans was really, I mean, it was segregated, but it wasn't. But blacks and whites and whoever else was living together down there, we were living together. We weren't always at each other's throats back in those days.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't remember any kind of a racial fights or anything going on back there, unless there was something political or something.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But with the normal people, I can't remember just normal people because you'd have 2, 3, 4, 5 black families living here. On the other side of the street down the road, there was white families. All basically kind of like in the same group.
You all lived with each other.
Yeah, we played together. We played baseball together all the time. And I don't remember growing up. I don't remember ever having a fight with anybody that was white or Chinese. Never. I can't remember ever having.
Gotcha.
Never. But when it come time to going into place of business now, there was a different story.
Yeah.
Well, you can't come in here because you're black. No, you went black. You're colored.
Gotcha.
You can't go in here because you're colored.
Yeah.
Even drinking water fountains.
Yeah.
Different water fountains. I couldn't drink it that way. They had a sign up there for colored people only.
Mm-hmm.
You can only drink out of that water fountain. You can't drink out of that one over there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But these are things that we live with. We grew up with. We live with. And you talk about a eye-opening awakening. When I got to California.
San Diego.
When I got to San Diego. Me and 2 other guys that weren't in my group, because my group went to Great Lakes. These 2 other black guys, we're 3 of us standing up there at the bus station. The plane station, I'm sorry, airport. We got off the airport and one of the porters up there, was a black guy, baggage handler. He come up and said, "Hey man," said, "Hey, you young Navy guys, now you going Navy?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." Yeah, I see a lot of you guys come through. He was a friendly guy. Come through here. I said, "Hey, can you tell us where we can get something to eat?" And the guy said, "Well, yeah, ready to go in there and say something." And I was the one with the dumb question. "You mean we can go in there?" And the guy said, "Where you from, man?" I said, "We from New Orleans. You from the South, right? You go in there, you sit down, you eat anything you want to eat. Order whatever you want to order."
How about that?
And I'm going, "Really?" And that's okay. That's news to me. Yep.
New experience.
Because very, very new. And when we get in there, there's a couple of black guys at the counter and a few white people sitting around. And we just went in, sat down, and everybody, the lady comes on, "Hey, what do you boys want to eat? What do you always want?" Say, "Okay." So I said, "Okay." But this is altogether different what I experienced down home.
Isn't that wild? How old are you? You were 17.
I was 17. I was 17 then, yeah.
Young guy.
Altogether different when it was back in New Orleans. Altogether different. And I experienced that for the rest of it was the 3 months or 3.5 months that I had in boot camp.
Gotcha.
Because I got in a fight in boot camp. got in the fight, and then I got set back a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And it was all because that was the only racial encounter that I had at that time.
Really?
In boot camp. Yeah, we had me and a young guy from Wisconsin.
Okay.
His name was Mike Kearns, and Kearns, really nice guy, tall white guy.
You remember it? Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah. Kearns was a good friend, and him and I used to goof around all the time, clown around and everything. And we used to talk about our hometown and everything. And he said, Wisconsin's got a lot of this, that, and the other, you know, cheese and stuff like that. I said, yeah, and all this kind of stuff. I said, well, we're the Mardi Gras people. We have a lot of fun, and people are, in parades and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, I've heard about it. I said, well, you need to go down there and check it out, man. It's nice. It's really nice, the Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Yeah. And we used to hang out together. Now we had this other guy, his name was Martin Foley. I'll never forget him too. Martin Foley, the white guy. He was really stocky.
Yeah.
And he had bald head.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah. And Martin Foley, he'd come around when Kern and I were sitting over there talking, because we used to sit together all the time, just him and I.
Okay.
And he'd come over one time and say, why are you sitting over here? We're sitting over here talking to him. And Kern said, what do you mean I'm talking to him? He says, he's a friend of mine. Now, hey, you shouldn't be talking to him because he's an in.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Use that slang, that nasty, dirty term. And I said, what'd you call me? He said, you heard what I called you. And out there, what we call the grinder, this is where you sat around after all your chores were done. You sat around, relaxing, smoking cigarettes, writing letters home, talking, to different friends and everything. Well, out there, they had what they call mud buckets. They had a regular little two-gallon pail with water in it.
Okay.
That's where you throw your cigarettes.
Ah, okay.
So we call them mud buckets.
Yep.
Where you threw your cigarette. And just so happens there was one sitting right on the side of me where I was. And when he said that word again, I just grabbed the mud bucket, popped him in the head with it.
Wow.
It smacked him in the head with it, man. And his blood went everywhere. Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. And he said, okay, I don't want to fight, man. I don't want to fight. So everybody, courage pulled me off him and everything, Said, oh, you're going to, excuse me, you're going to get in trouble. You get in trouble. I said, oh, I don't worry about it. So the company commander was the first class in charge of the whole group.
Yeah.
He came in, found out what's going on. He told me, I said, what's going on? He said, well, Kern told him. And a couple of other guys that were from the South, white guys from the South, they kind of went with the other guy. Said, no, that's not what happened. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, they tried to make it sound like I did it. I hit the guy and said, yeah. Okay. So anyway, I had a captain's mass in boot camp. You went to see the captain. You don't go to see the captain unless you get out of the fleet.
Yeah.
You don't have the captain mass in boot camp.
Yeah.
But anyway, the old man, he said, well, you can't have you going around hitting people in the head with mud buckets and everything, and we can't have you going around making racial slurs like that. We don't have that in this man's Navy.
Yeah.
Even though back then it was still in the Navy, it was still that way.
Yeah.
But as a commanding officer, he couldn't let that happen. So he said the fighter and the fightee all get punished. So what happened? What happened then? They just gave him a smack on the wrist and gave him extra duty to work, in the evening, a couple hours harder, when everybody else be sleeping, he'd still be working.
Yeah.
In boot camp, that's like your sleep was needed back then.
Yeah.
But with me, he set me back, put me in another company. He set me back for 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
See, I got the dirty end of the deal, so to speak. Okay. So when I got transferred back to this other company, this was an all Oklahoma company.
Okay.
Everybody in this company came from Oklahoma.
Wow. Okay.
Everybody.
That's wild. Okay.
Yeah, that was wild. And even the company commander, which is the first class, he was from Oklahoma. And it was crazy. And lo and behold, I got the same problem when I got that company.
Wow.
I got in there, and as soon as I got in there, guys were talking. I was talking to. We have some of the recruits that are seniors, and they take care of the squads and all this kind of stuff. So I got in one guy's squad. He was a pretty nice guy. So anyway, we had another troublemaker in there too, but he was a bully with everybody. He was bullying all his boys in Oklahoma. So I got in there. So I'm an outsider from New Orleans, from Louisiana. So hey, I'm the one who's going to pick on. Everybody's going to pick on me, but everybody didn't all pick on me, just him. You know, he'd come over. And I come here in this company. This is an Oklahoma company. I said, well, I was put in this company because, I mean, yeah, you know, like I said back, my company was 353. I said, yeah, well, you know, you're this, that, and the other. I said, okay. But anyway, you have to go ahead and do what we want you to do around here and help us out. So, you know, I said, well, you think I'm a slave or something like that, you know? Yeah, if we want you to shine our shoes, you shine our shoes and all this kind of. I said, yeah, okay. And I said to myself, man, here we go. You know?
Not again.
Not again. I said, I'm about ready to get kicked out of the Navy because I'm not going to stand for this stuff, you know? And one guy told me, another black guy in the company told me, said, this guy's a bully, man. He said, don't let him get to you. He said, don't let him get to you. He said, don't let him get you into a fight now.
Yeah.
Because you get in trouble because we heard you just got here from being in a fight before. He said, yeah. I said, man, but I'm not taking any crap from this guy, man. He said, no. They just, you know, just stay away from him. All right. So a company was due to graduate within another month.
Yeah.
Now, so I said, okay. But I watched my company graduate.
Yeah.
Because they graduated 2 weeks before me.
Mm-hmm.
My company, well, I should have been graduated. Because all the companies come to the pass and review, they call it.
Yeah.
And all the companies that are graduating, they all pass around the podium and salute the old man and everything. And when they get out, and they get their graduation paper and they're gone.
They move on.
Yeah. So that was my 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I saw my guys go by. So anyway, so one evening, we're over at the mess hall. We're in the mess hall, sitting down eating chow, everything. And say, hey, pass me the salt. And I'm sitting down eating my chow, eating my grub, everything. And then all of a sudden I see this pepper shaker slide over toward me. Hey boy, pass me that salt. I said, you talking to me? Yeah, I'm talking to you. I said, you got salt right in front of you. Yeah, okay, I want that salt you got. And I said, oh man, here we go again, you know. I said, no, I'm not passing you salt, you know. So, okay, we'll see what's going to happen here. All right, I'll see you when we get over to the grinder. Well, the grinder was where you wash your clothes and stuff like that, you know,
Okay.
behind the barracks. You have to wash your clothes because you only wore 2 sets of uniform.
Really?
Yeah. The clothes you had on now would be the clothes you wear the next day.
Okay.
Now, at the end of that next day, you take those clothes off and you wash them.
Okay.
And you have another set of clothes.
Gotcha.
And then you just change like this.
You just keep
rotating.
out.
Keep rotating like that, right? So everybody washed their clothes and everybody hung them up. And we had what we call tie-ties. We had little strings about that long, about 8 inches long. We had 2 little metal tips on the end.
Okay.
You know? And you tie your skivvies.
Yep.
And your shirts had little loops on them. For the tie-ties to go in, you got to tie them up.
How about that?
On the line.
All right.
Now, you tie them up on the line, and they have to be a square knot. You know, you tie a square knot?
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a square knot. If you've had a grainy knot, you know, just a regular grainy knot.
Yep.
Whoever had the grainy, because the company commander would go around, inspect all these clothes at night when everybody's sleeping.
Wow.
And you wake up in the morning and you see all the clothes on the ground. Somebody was caught with a grainy knot. And the person who was caught with the grainy knot, you didn't have to find out whose name it was. You can see because they had foot tracks on top of them. You know,
wow.
The commander would step on him. And we knew who that was. And that guy, he got, you know, nobody fought him or anything like that. Everybody just called him name, yelled at him, called him dirty dog, you know, whatever. You know, and say, I could teach you how to tie a square knot if you want me to, you know, whatever, you know. But anyway, that was the thing. But anyway, we got back to the grinder, to the barracks over there, and he had a couple of really, you know, kind of mud buddies, I call them.
Yeah.
Sticking with him all the time, you know. Ever see the movie Back to the Future?
Yes.
Well, you see the big guy?
Right, yeah.
Big guy, I forget his name. Biff, yeah.
Biff.
You see Biff buddies?
Yeah.
Well, that's what this guy had.
Okay.
But he only had 2.
Okay.
Like Biff buddies, right? He kind of, every brown. So I think, well, if it's going to go down like this, I say, well, I guess I'm going to have to, hey, here we go. So, you know, I'm not going to wait for him to come up to me, start telling me what he's going to do there. So I just walked up to him, pow, it smacked him in the mouth.
Wow.
And he was bigger than I was. He was bigger. I was 119, about 119, 20 pounds. 119 or 20 pounds, something like that. I was tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny. I just smacked him right in the mouth. And hit him in the mouth, and then he Pop! I hit him twice before his buddies come and grab him like I said, and he's looking at me like he was really scared. You're looking at me like, well, what do you hit me for? What do you? And I said, well, I hit you because you get ready to hit me, And everybody come up and said, and that was the first time that I'd seen a couple of other black guys came over and was siding up with me. Yeah. They didn't do anything. They didn't say anything. They just walked in, to like cover my back. Whatever,
they kind of made their presence.
Yeah, their presence. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and then I said, well, I didn't hit you. I wasn't going to hit you. I said, well, how did I know you weren't going to hit me? That's why I hit you first, because I didn't want you to hit me. It's stupid adolescent talk at the time, So everything was over. And the next morning, I said, well, I guess I'm going to be in trouble because somebody's going to tell the company commander, But when everybody came in, we called up, lined up and everything, and nobody said nothing.
How about
nobody said nothing. Said, okay. So we went on for the next month and a half, what it was, and we graduated. And that guy on graduation day, everybody we are now getting ready to go to the fleet. We're now fleet sailors. We're all going in all different directions of the world to serve the country.
Yep.
This guy comes up to me. He says, hey, sorry if I caught you in trouble, man. He said, I said, well, I'm sorry I hit you, man. He said, I might see you out in the fleet one of these days. I said, where you going, man? He said, I think he was going to Texas somewhere. He was going to Texas. He had a shore duty drive right to Texas because he was Airedale type.
Gotcha.
Like your dad
Corpus Christi or somewhere like that?
Corpus Christi, yeah.
Yep.
Corpus Christi is where he was going. I said, he asked me, where you going? I said, well, I'm going here in California. I'm going to board a ship. Are you going to board a ship? Yeah. What are you going to do? I said, well, engineer. I'm a red stripe. I'm a fireman. And he was a green stripe. He was Airedale type. Your dad was Airedale, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know.
What was your dad? He was aviation something?
Yeah.
Wasn't he aviation? No. Well, I thought your dad was. But anyway, he aviation. So he went to Corpus Christi. And I went to Oxnard or Port Miami, California.
How about that?
Yeah. So that was that. But anyway, and now I'm in the fleet. So, And then and the prejudice is I couldn't get away from that for a long time. For many, many years, More experience there. My first ship, and I ran into one of my homeboys, we call him, a guy from New Orleans, Loudon. He was a good friend of mine. After a while, after I got there, he'd been in the Navy for, I don't know, 9 or 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. He came in the Navy right after the war.
Okay. After World War II.
Yeah, World War II. Because this was a 55.
Mm-hmm.
So the war was over about 5 years, 10 years, 45 to 55. So he came in like about 47 or something like that.
Right after the war.
Right after the war, yeah. And he was just a little seaman. And his big hash marks all these times. I said, how come you're just a seaman, man? I said, why don't you make petty officer? I don't want to be petty. Why do I want to be petty officer? It's too much trouble, man. Too much trouble. You're advancing. You get more money. You're learning more things. What's the matter? And they tried for the longest to get me to get on that same train. Don't do anything. Just hang back, act crazy, get your money and go on the beach, go on Liberty, and
How about that?
But I, that wasn't in my my makeup. I wanted to get out and learn something as an engineer. I wanted to learn what's going on with the pumps and machinery and everything.
So were you that way as a young guy before you went in the Navy? I mean, were you always curious? I mean, why did you not want to do what other people were kind of doing? Why did you want to learn more?
No, not before I went in. No, before I went in, it was just basically taking care of the family.
Gotcha.
Taking care of the family, and I really didn't have a lot of interest before I went in the Navy because it was really, like I said, growing up where I grew up, there was just nothing to do.
Not a lot of opportunity.
Not a lot of opportunity. It was probably there, but it would have been hard to get.
So what happened? You joined the Navy and you saw, wow, I could do this, I could do that.
Joined the Navy, there's no limits. No limits.
How about that?
When I found out that there were limits, there were stops, but that I could get around them.
Okay.
But you had to go through some people to get around them. And it was surprising enough that was in the officer ranks. And that made it hard for a black back in those days. It was hard.
So you had an internal desire to succeed.
I did. My definitely had an internal desire to receive. Because here's the thing. To show you about that, Okay, we got a chore chore type thing we got on the ship called mess cooking.
Okay.
And when you say mess cooking, you get one guy in each division. They go out and they take care of the troops, like they clean the decks and they wash the table, they wash the dishes and the sculleries, and they serve the food on the line and everything. These are what messmen.
Okay.
Messmen. It's called mess cooking.
Okay.
And today now they call it mess cranking.
Okay.
Mess cooking. Okay. And you're only supposed to have a 3-month tour. 3 months of that, then you go back to your division.
Yeah.
Like with me, I would go back to the engine room, learn the engine, learn the pumps, learn the boilers and all this kind of stuff, and how the ship runs and stuff like that. So when I first got on the ship, we went to see the engineer, the chief engineer, which we call Ching, chief engineer. So with me, white guy by the name of Shaddix.
Okay.
A Filipino, he's a Filipino American. Ward was his name. And with one other kid, I can't remember his name, but he was white also. But anyway, we up there and Chief Gentner, I'll never forget him. Chief Gentner, because he's probably long dead by now.
Okay.
But he was probably about in his 50s back then. So
wow.
In 1955. So, but anyway, Chief Gentner, he goes chief engineer, and the engineer says, what am I going to do with this guy down here?
About you mean?
Talking about me, yeah. What am I going to do with him down there? The chief engineer said, well, so what do you want to do with him? I said, well, send him up to the steward department. Well, the steward departments was where it was all blacks and Filipinos.
Okay.
The steward department took care of all the officers. Back in those days, the officers had it made, They make the officers' beds, they shine their shoes,
wow.
They clean their clothes. Oh, yeah. Back in those days, yeah. They're stewards.
Wow.
And then they cook for them.
Wow.
And they cook for them. But those guys, they had no duties. They had no chores, no duties other than what they had to do for the officer. So come 1600 in the evening, they're gone.
Wow. Okay.
They come back to work in the morning at 4:30, so they have to get all the mess and everything ready for breakfast for the officers.
Yep.
And then noontime, they all from that time to noontime, get all the officers' dinners, all this kind of stuff. So in the evening, whatever officers that are on board in the evening, you had a certain amount of people that had stay around till they ate, and then they left, and then they all would leave. So they basically didn't do anything but cook.
How about that?
And took care of the officers,
Yep.
And then he said, well, what? He was telling Jack, send him up there. I can't use him down there. He won't be able to do nothing down there. So to the chief engineer said, well, take him down there and see what happens first. Said, if he doesn't work out, then we'll see about putting him somewhere else.
Okay.
Now they're already ready. And he would come. He came up and told me one time, the chief did, Piku. He just called me my last name. Piku, you know what? This is crazy out here. You know anything about this stuff? I said, no, I don't. I said, well, I'm going to learn, Chief. He said, no. I said, I'll tell you what. Why don't you go up there to the steward's way? Go up there with them color boys up there, the steward, right up there where you don't have to do nothing, you don't have to work hard. I said, no, I want to learn this. I want to learn this. This is what I want to learn. And he said, he mumbled a little bit. So me and this guy Shaddix, the other white guy that was a fireman apprentice, he was down there with him. Now, we had one other black guy in the engine room. He's a second class.
Okay.
His name was Charlie Amar. I'll never forget him too. Charlie Amar. He was all right. Okay. His wife was Mexican.
Okay.
So he was more or less accepted in the group.
Yep.
And they were second class. So second class back in those days was a big rate.
Yeah.
They were big,
Yeah.
So he was like in charge of the certain part of the engine room there. But we had another first class white guy was over the whole thing. So when I went down there and he was lighting off a certain pump, everybody learns to light off the bilge pump first.
Okay.
That's the most simplest pump down there.
Okay.
So I'm down there, I'm trying to learn how, and he said, no, we don't want you over. You need to go over here and clean this over here. Is that another? I said, well, I want to learn how to light off the bilge pump. I said, Shaddix is over here. The kid that came in with me, I said, he's over there. Can I learn with him? I said, no. So they were grooming this guy first, right? So within 2 weeks, I'm going mess cooking. I'll tell you about the mess. Going to the mess, take care of the mess, take care of, the guys, feed the guys, clean up the mess and all that kind of stuff. I had to get up 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Do breakfast, do lunch, do dinner, all this kind of stuff. But I still had to stay my duties, right? So, but on the mess deck, not down the engine room. So, but I got my books. I was studying. I was studying with one other guy on there. That was a fireman.
How do you get your books? Did they give you the books you need?
Yeah, well, you have to order your books. You have to order all your books. You have your paid officer requirements. Your machines made second, third. I think it was just machines made third book, and then the military requirements book.
Okay.
Yeah, and the leadership book. This type of stuff. You study all these. You got a test and everything, and you write your own test. Right, then you let somebody critique it. You know?
Gotcha.
And say, well, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. And you go back and you read it and you figure out why that was wrong. I say, okay, I see why, because this was not right. So, yeah. Anyway, it's great way. But anyway, when I got ready to, I was on there about a year and 3 months on USS Norton Sound. It was AVM 1.
Okay.
It was an old seaplane tender that they used in the Navy. A long time ago.
Really?
We said seaplanes fly off them.
Really?
Right? Okay, but what they did is they converted that thing to guided missiles. A guided missile testing ship is what it was.
Really?
So they had 2 guided missile launchers on the back. They had the main deck, the rear deck was just a flat deck. Way. 2 guided missile testers. So the job of that ship was to test missiles, the different type of missiles that they were building back in those days.
Yep.
To test them. So what we would do, we would get on the way in the mornings, and we go out to the bay out there somewhere, and Point Mugu Naval Air Station, they would fire a drone in the air.
Okay.
And then whichever missile that they were testing, they would fire that missile at that drone, and if the drone, if it was successful, it looked like it was going to hit the drone, they would detonate it, blow it up.
Wow. Okay.
So I said, okay, that missile works fine.
Okay.
This works fine. So one time, the missile went haywire or something, and it hit the drone, right? And when it hit the drone, they had all the mechanisms were always in some kind of little container, like the black box for airplane.
Yep.
If it crashed or whatever, the black box.
It always survives.
Yeah. Survive. And then what happens after a certain period of time, it would blow up, and then it would float to the surface. It was like a parachute.
How about that?
It would float to the surface.
Okay.
And that would only happen like at night or something like that. So I was on that ship, Junior, for a year and 2 months. And it stayed out at sea overnight twice.
Wow.
Every time we got on the way at 8 o'clock in the morning, we were back at 1600 in the evening. Every day. That's crazy. I mean, that was just
Yeah.
People that were living there. The guys that was on the ship, they had homes there.
Yeah.
They bought their homes there. Their wives worked there.
Yeah.
And the night that we didn't come in for that accident we had, man, the wives was on the pier the next day. How come you guys? Where were you guys? I had dinner on the soul last night. Nobody came. It was crazy. And I'm going, I'm a little 17-year-old kid. I'm going, what's going on with this? I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Japan. I wanted to go to the Philippines. I wanted to go to everywhere. I wanted to get out of the States.
Yeah.
And see the world.
Yeah.
That's why I joined the Navy.
I love it.
Yeah. And but anyway, I'm thinking, okay, about a year and 2 months, man. I said I cannot stand being on this mess deck. I gotta go because I want to do something. So the ship went to Hunters Point in San Francisco. It was the yards. Went to the yards to overall. So we get up there and we went to the dry dock. Take all the water from the bottom of the ship in the dry dock. So I'm saying, oh man, I gotta do something. So I saw this other carrier over here, USS Philippine Sea.
Okay.
So I said, I'm gonna go over there and see if I can find a swap, So I got aboard the ship. Back then everything was pretty lackadaisical,
Yep.
Wasn't really a whole bunch of stuff. You still had your ID card and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I saw this young kid, a seaman, on the main deck, and he says, he said, where you from? I said, well, what ship you on? I said, Northern Sound, that thing over there in the dry dock. I said, I'm trying to get off it. He said, you are? He said, yeah. He said, I'm trying to get off this thing too. I said, well, where do you live? He said, I live right down the road. I live in Ventura. Ventura, California was down the road. And he says, I said, man, that would be the ship for you right there. He said, okay, let's see if we can get a swap. I said, okay. So I took all his information for me, I gave him all my information and everything. Right? So when we get back to our ships, our commanding officers and everybody would just say, okay, send this guy there, send this guy there, and a swap.
Yeah.
So when I gave Chief Guttner the thing and told him that I want to swap with this guy, oh man, he was so happy. Oh yeah. He signed the request and everything.
Wow.
The officer signed it. Everybody signed the request and sent it over. But here's the thing for them. This kid was a college grad. He had 2 years of college.
Okay.
And he was a liaison type of supply type guy.
Okay.
So when he got to the ship, the supply officer found out what he was, and the supply took him. So that left him short of a man.
Wow.
Oh yeah, he was mad. But I heard later on that he was really, really mad. I said, well, but he got rid of me.
Yeah.
And leaving that den and went into another den. Now this is all in. This is right now. This is in 1956. Okay. 57. Going into 57. First one, 57. And got on the Philippine Sea, and then I'm down in the engineering department. I meet everybody, all the officers and everything, and looking at me, say, "You send any engineering watches?" I said, "No, I didn't send too much of anything. I just had my mess cooking and all that." Guy, "Oh, you were mess cooking?" 2 weeks later, sent me mess cooking. I said, "Well, I've already had 3 months mess cooking." He said, "Yeah, but you had it on another ship. You didn't have it on this ship."
Wow.
I said, "Okay." I said, and when I got to talking to some of the guys, a lot of the black guys on that ship were kind of old salts, old salty.
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah." I said, "That's what they do to you here, man. Until you get yourself squared away, they're gonna try to keep you on the mess deck because that's what they do to us, so to speak."
Yep.
I said, "Okay." Well, I go down the engine room every night when I got off mess cooking. Okay. I only had about 6 hours sleep.
Okay.
Between breakfast and so I go down, I learn all the systems. I work with a couple of guys down there. Pappy Slater, a guy by the name of Pappy Slater, white guy. Pappy must have been about 40-something years old back then in 1955.
Okay.
But he was smart.
Okay.
But he was the third class, and I think he was in during the war.
Wow.
And but he was on E4.
Wow.
And he didn't want to advance either, but he was smart. He knew the engine, he knew everything. And I used to learn from him.
Okay.
I used to learn how to do all kinds of stuff with him. I'd go down, back and forth. And then when it come time to go for third class for E4, you had to make sure all my courses were in and everything like that, So the chief, he's saying, well, we can't use him down there, because he's still a fireman. Said, well, all of his courses are in. He's got to go. You got to let him go for third class for the next high rate. Said, yeah, but he's mess cooking. Said, doesn't make any difference, So and chief said, well, I don't want him to do it. I don't want him. So the officer said, well, we have to let him go up because he's qualified. He's got all of his courses in and everything.
Yeah.
They did not want me to go up. They didn't want me to make third class because if that meant if I made it, that'd take me off the mess decks.
Right. Yeah. Right?
Because third class don't mess cook.
Ah, okay.
I went up for third class with 2 guys that came out of machinist made A school. In other words, they were in school for 3 months to learn all the stuff that.
And here you weren't in school.
Yeah, I wasn't in school. 2 guys, and then one other guy that didn't have schooling, and me. It was 4 of us. I was the only one to make third class.
Wow.
I was the only one to make third class. Yeah.
Because all that extra work you did.
I'm telling you. And then the chief, he was so mad. Man, he was mad at these guys. How you gonna let him make third class? You guys went to school. But all of their schooling, when I found out later, all their schooling was just book work. I had hands on.
You were hands on.
OJT, hands on.
Yeah. Wow.
That was hands on stuff, right? And then I got where I think it would probably be the best thing to put into a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now.
Yeah.
When I came down the engine room, my little patch on, my little third class crow patch on, I come down the engine room, we're underway, and various chiefs from different engineering departments would stand watches in my engine room that I worked in. And we had a chief by the name of Dalton. He was from I forget, Arkansas somewhere. He's Southern chief, but he was nice, really nice guy. And I come down and I walked over by the throttle board over there. He walked over And she said, "Hey, third class, huh? Yeah, Chief. Congratulations. Thank you, Chief." He said, "Well, let me tell you something. Said, come here." It was noisy, I was whining and stuff like that. Those old engines back in those days were really, really whining and noisy. So we went over the corner and everything. He said, "I'm going to tell you something." He said, "I want you to listen to me." I said, "Okay." He said, "You are a third class petty officer. Yeah. But one thing you got going against you, that you're a color boy." What you saying? I said, what do you mean, Chief? He said, "I'm going to tell you what." He said, "You keep learning as much as you possibly can about the rate if you plan on staying in this Navy for any length of time at all." He said, "You have to be," and I'm going to tell you this, "you have to be better," and honestly, you have to be better than the best white boy that comes down here.
How about that?
And I said, Chief, I said, "I'm not in a competition with anybody." He said, "No, it's not competition I'm talking about. You have to be better than the best white guy that comes down here. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? You're going to always come in second. And second place is not always a great thing in the Navy, especially in the engine room." So, and I kept that concept in my mind and everything I did from that day on.
Isn't that wild? Lesson.
Yeah, it was a lesson. I kept that in my, and I work with a lot of people. And every time I work with anybody else, I said the same thing. Not only if it's black or white, it doesn't make any difference. You have to be better than the best guy that's down here. Whatever. You didn't have to be black or white. You have to be better.
Yeah.
You have to, in other words, make yourself better. Don't slack off. Continue to grow.
Gotcha.
Continue to grow. Right?
Life lesson, period.
That's it. Life lesson, period. Yeah. So, man, but that was really good. And as I went further on in my Navy career, I used to think about Dalton all the time. Man, you know what? He's right. He's right. You got to be better than that.
Isn't that wild?